I've built my life the same way I've managed construction projects for the past 15 years. Methodically, with obsessive attention to detail, and engineered to withstand whatever storm might come. Every beam calculated for maximum load, every joint reinforced, every potential weakness addressed before the first nail gets hammered. That's how I approach my marriage to Rachel, too. 13 years of careful construction, and I believed we'd built something that would last forever. My name is David Miller, and until 2 weeks ago, I would have told anyone who asked that I had the perfect life. Not flashy perfect. I'm a construction project manager, not some Silicon Valley executive, but solid perfect. The kind of life built on routine and reliability, where you know what you're coming home to every night. Rachel and I had our patterns down to a science. I worked 50-hour weeks managing commercial builds while she maintained our 3-bedroom colonial in Fairfield County. No kids. We'd tried for years before accepting it wasn't in the cards, but we'd made peace with that. We had each other, and that felt like enough. Our friends used to joke that we were the boring couple, and we wore that label with pride. Date nights every Friday at the same Italian place downtown, Saturdays at the farmer's market, Sundays with her parents or mine, rotating weekends like clockwork. We shared everything, bank accounts, phone passwords, even social media logins. Rachel used to laugh about couples who kept secrets from each other. What's the point of being married if you're still hiding things? She'd say, usually while scrolling through her Instagram on my phone because hers was dead. She never had to work. That was important to me. Maybe because my own mother had worked herself to exhaustion raising 3 kids alone after my father left. I made good money, enough that Rachel could focus on the house, her book club, her yoga classes. I liked knowing she was taken care of, that she didn't have to stress about deadlines or difficult bosses. She'd worked retail when we met, and I'd seen how it drained her. Marriage meant I could give her something better. The changes started small, so small I almost missed them. Like hairline cracks in a foundation, barely visible unless you're looking for them. Rachel started taking her phone to bed instead of leaving it charging in the kitchen. She'd angle the screen away when texting, not obviously, just a subtle shift of her wrist. She began staying up later, claiming she couldn't sleep, the blue glow of her screen visible under the bedroom door when I'd get up to use the bathroom at 2 in the morning. "You okay, honey?" I'd asked one night after finding her on the couch, phone in hand at 1:30 a.m. "Just can't shut my brain off," she replied, locking her screen quickly. Too quickly. Sarah's having drama with her husband again. You know how she gets. I did know Sarah. Rachel's college roommate was perpetually in crisis, so the explanation made sense. I kissed Rachel's forehead and went back to bed, ignoring the whisper in my gut that something felt off. The gym membership came next. After years of being content with her morning yoga videos, Rachel suddenly needed to join CrossFit. She bought new workout clothes, expensive ones from Lululemon, not the Target brands she usually preferred. She started wearing makeup to work out, claiming it made her feel more confident. I supported it all. Why wouldn't I? My wife wanted to be healthier, feel better about herself. What kind of husband would complain about that? But then came the locked phone. It was a Thursday evening just 2 weeks ago. Rachel was in the shower and her phone was on the nightstand. Mine was dead, plugged in downstairs, and I just needed to check the time for my morning meeting. I reached for her phone the way I'd done 1,000 times before, and the screen lit up with a passcode request. A passcode. In 13 years of marriage, we'd never locked our phones. It was one of those unspoken agreements. Total transparency. Total trust. When Rachel came out of the bathroom, towel wrapped around her, I held up her phone. "Since when do you have a passcode?" The pause before she answered lasted maybe 2 seconds. 2 seconds that felt like watching a support beam crack under pressure. That moment when you know something's about to fail catastrophically. "Oh, that," she said, taking the phone from my hand. "We had this security presentation at book club. Identity theft and all that. Martha's daughter had her whole bank account drained because she didn't have proper security on her phone. So what's the code?" I asked, keeping my voice casual. Another pause. It's my birth year, but backwards." "You know I'm terrible with numbers," she answered with a nervous laugh. She typed it in quickly, showed me the home screen, then immediately locked it again. "I should probably change it to something we both know." "I'll do that tomorrow," she added hastily. Tomorrow came and went. The passcode stayed. I've managed construction crews for 15 years. I know when someone's hiding shoddy work behind fresh paint. The question was, how deep did the rot go? In construction, when you suspect structural damage, you don't tear down walls immediately. You investigate methodically. You document everything. You gather evidence before making any moves that can't be undone. That's what I did with Rachel. Turned my marriage into a project that needed careful assessment. I started a notebook, the same kind I use for site inspections. Date, time, observation, just the facts. No interpretation, no emotion. Rachel leaves for gym at 6:47 a.m. instead of usual 7:15. Rachel receives text at dinner, smiles, says it's her mother, doesn't share what it says. Rachel showers twice in one day, claims she felt sweaty from cleaning. Each entry clinical, professional. Like I was documenting safety violations instead of cataloging the dissolution of my marriage. The patterns emerged within 2 weeks. Late-night phone sessions happened Tuesday and Thursday nights, always after she thought I was asleep. She'd slip out of bed, phone in hand and pad downstairs. From the bedroom, I could hear the soft murmur of her voice through the floorboards. Too muffled to make out words, but unmistakably intimate in tone. The laugh she used, quiet, throaty, was one I recognized from our early dating days. She hadn't laughed like that for me in years. Her appearance changed too, but gradually like she was testing boundaries. First the gym clothes, then new underwear that appeared in the laundry, lace and silk things from Victoria's Secret, tags still attached when I moved them from washer to dryer. She bought perfume, something floral and young, different from the vanilla scent she'd worn since college. Her legs were always smooth now. Religiously shaved every other day instead of the twice-weekly routine I'd grown accustomed to over 13 years. "You look nice," I commented when she emerged from the bedroom. "Dressed for book club in a dress I'd never seen before? This old thing?" She replied with an easy lie. "I've had it forever. Just haven't worn it in a while." The credit card statement said otherwise. Nordstrom, $127.99, purchased 3 days ago. I started varying my schedule without telling her. A random Tuesday, I said I had a site inspection in Hartford that would keep me late. Instead, I parked 3 blocks away and walked back to the house. Rachel's car was in the driveway, but when I peered through the garage window, she wasn't home. She'd left on foot or been picked up. When she returned 2 hours later, she was walking from the direction of downtown, yoga mat under her arm, despite yoga class having ended 4 hours earlier. "How was Hartford?" she asked at dinner. "Productive," I replied, cutting into my chicken. "How was your day?" "Quiet. Just puttered around the house." "Did some reading," she answered casually. The lies stacked up like poorly laid bricks, each one making the wall less stable. I became a detective in my own home. When Rachel showered, I'd check her phone location, always where she said she'd be, which meant she was smart enough not to take it with her wherever she was really going. I noted the mileage on her car, tracking discrepancies between her stated destinations and actual miles driven. 12 extra miles on a trip to her mother's. 8 unexplained miles after grocery shopping. Small distances that suggested local detours. The turning point came on a Wednesday night. Rachel had been texting steadily through dinner, claiming work emergencies at the non-profit where she volunteered. She excused herself early, saying she needed to handle some urgent emails. I gave her 20 minutes, then quietly climbed the stairs. Our bedroom door was cracked, and I could see her reflection in the mirror, sitting on the bed, phone in hand. She was smiling, really smiling, the kind that reaches your eyes and changes your whole face. Her fingers flew across the screen, and she bit her lower lip the way she used to when we first dated, when every text from me was an event. I stood in that hallway for 5 minutes, watching my wife have an emotional affair 6 feet away from where I stood. Because that's what it was, even if I didn't have proof of anything physical yet. The energy, the excitement, the careful grooming. She was courting someone or being courted. The woman who hadn't worn matching underwear for me in 2 years was buying lingerie for someone else's eyes. That night, after she'd switched off her light and her breathing had settled into sleep rhythm, I lay awake running calculations. Not about whether she was cheating. I was 90% certain of that now, but about what I was going to do about it. Confront her without proof and get gaslit? Hire a private investigator and spend thousands to confirm what I already knew? Or wait, document and prepare? I chose what I always choose, the methodical approach. But I needed access to her phone. The digital wall she'd built was the only thing standing between suspicion and confirmation. Like any construction project, I just needed the right tools and the right opportunity. In construction, when you suspect structural damage, you don't just hope it goes away. You investigate, because if the foundation is compromised, the whole building comes down. Saturday morning, 10:47 a.m. That's when my marriage officially ended, though Rachel wouldn't know it for another week. She was in the shower, her second of the day after returning from yoga class with her hair smelling wrong, like men's deodorant and something else I didn't want to identify. She'd left her phone on the bed, screen down, probably confident that her passcode would keep me out. But she'd made a mistake. Thursday night, I'd watched her unlock it from across the room. Not her birth year backwards, that was lie number 1000 and something. It was EO242, February 14th, Valentine's Day. The irony wasn't lost on me. My hands were steady as I picked up the phone. 15 years of working under pressure, meeting impossible deadlines, managing crisis after crisis on job sites, all of it prepared me for this moment. I had maybe 10 minutes, 15 if she decided to shave her legs again. The WhatsApp icon had a red notification badge, 47 unread messages. My stomach turned to concrete as I opened it. Ethan Clark. The name meant nothing to me, but his profile picture showed a clean-cut guy, maybe 40, with the kind of artificially whitened smile that suggested retail management. The conversation history scrolled back 4 months. I started with the most recent messages, working backwards like reviewing building plans for code violations. Each text was another crack in the foundation. Ethan, can't wait to see you Tuesday. Jennifer's taking the kids to her mother's. Rachel, God, I need you. David's been so suspicious lately, but I don't care anymore. Ethan, soon, baby. Soon we won't have to hide. The word baby hit like a sledgehammer. 13 years, and she'd never once called me baby. I scrolled faster, screenshotting everything, my phone beside me, forwarding evidence to my email with the efficiency of someone processing invoices. The photos appeared 2 months into their conversation. Rachel in lingerie I'd never seen, poses I'd never witnessed, an expression of desire that I hadn't inspired in years. Then his photos, which I didn't examine closely, just documented and moved on. 3 months ago, January 12th, their first meeting, Rachel. I know I shouldn't have come over, but I can't stop thinking about last night, Ethan. Best mistake we ever made. The shower stopped. I had maybe 90 seconds while she dried off. I switched to her regular messages, found more evidence, careful scheduling, alibis being coordinated. Her friend Sarah was covering for her. The yoga instructor was in on it. Her mother, Christ, her own mother, had lied to me about Rachel being at their house last Tuesday. Footsteps in the bathroom. The hairdryer started. 5 more minutes. I found his Instagram through her search history. Ethan Clark, store manager at Whole Foods, married to Jennifer Clark, father to Emma, 8, Jackson, 6, and baby Sophia, 2. His family photos were all over his profile. Beach vacations, birthday parties, first days of school. His wife Jennifer looked tired but happy, the kind of woman who'd sacrificed her body and career for her family. She deserved to know what her husband was doing while she raised his children. I forwarded his profile to myself, then cleared Rachel's search history of my visit. Phone back exactly where I found it, screen down, same angle. My phone slipped into my pocket with 63 screenshots that would end 2 marriages. Rachel emerged from the bathroom, hair wrapped in a towel, wearing the old terry cloth robe she'd had since college. "What do you want to do today?" she asked like this was any other Saturday. "I thought we could check out that new farmer's market in Westport," I suggested, proud of how normal my voice sounded. "Maybe grab lunch after?" She smiled, not the smile from her texts to Ethan, but the practiced one she'd been giving me lately. "Sounds perfect," she agreed. We spent that Saturday like any other married couple, browsing overpriced vegetables, holding hands out of habit, discussing whether we needed more throw pillows for the couch. Rachel bought artisanal honey from a woman who kept calling us such a beautiful couple. I agreed to try a sample of homemade salsa while my phone sat heavy in my pocket, loaded with evidence of my wife's 4-month affair with a married father of 3. That night, while Rachel slept beside me, I lay awake studying Ethan Clark's LinkedIn profile. 15 years in grocery retail. Started as a stocker, worked his way up to management. Wife was a stay-at-home mom, according to her Facebook. They had a mortgage on a modest house in Fairview, 2 car payments, probably living paycheck to paycheck with 3 kids. I thought about those kids seeing their father every day, trusting him, while he spent Tuesday and Thursday mornings in bed with my wife. I thought about Jennifer Clark, probably exhausted from managing 3 children alone, believing her husband was at work when he was 60 miles away in a motel room Rachel paid for with cash withdrawn from our joint account. Rachel thought she was playing chess while I played checkers. She had no idea I was actually drawing up blueprints for her destruction. Monday morning, 7:45 a.m. Rachel was still asleep when I left for my lawyer's office. Michael Brennan had handled my company's legal issues for a decade, but this was personal. I'd made the appointment Friday, telling his secretary it was urgent, family-related. She'd squeezed me in before his regular hours. I placed a manila folder on his desk, thick with printed screenshots, bank statements, credit card records. I need a divorce, I said, and I need to protect myself financially. Michael reviewed the evidence methodically, occasionally whistling low at particularly damaging messages. "This is comprehensive," he said after 20 minutes. "Most clients come in with suspicions. You've brought me a conviction. What are my options?" I asked. "Connecticut is a no-fault state, but adultery can impact alimony," he explained. "With this evidence, Rachel won't get much, if anything. The house is tricky, both names on the deed. But the down payment came from your inheritance, correct?" "Every penny. My father's life insurance," I confirmed. "We can argue for a larger share. The retirement accounts will push to keep yours intact. The joint accounts," he pulled out a legal pad. "How much are we talking?" "About 40,000 in savings, 15 in checking," I answered. "You can legally withdraw up to half," he advised. "I'd recommend doing it today before she has any idea what's coming. Open new accounts at a different bank. Move your direct deposit immediately." The plan took shape like a construction schedule. Cancel joint credit cards. Remove her as beneficiary from life insurance. Document all marital assets. Change passwords on everything. Michael recommended a forensic accountant to trace the cash withdrawals Rachel had been making. $300 here, $500 there, always just under the amount that would trigger questions. "What about Ethan Clark?" I asked. "Not your problem legally," he replied, "but his wife might want this evidence for her own divorce." Michael slid a business card across the desk. "Private investigator. If you want more dirt on either of them, she's the best." I shook my head. "I have enough." That afternoon, I executed Michael's plan with surgical precision. New bank accounts opened, half our savings transferred, direct deposit redirected, credit cards canceled, insurance beneficiary changed to my sister. Each step was another support beam removed from Rachel's comfortable life. The forensic accountant Michael recommended was brilliant. Within 2 days, she'd traced over $8,000 in cash withdrawals that aligned with Rachel and Ethan's meeting dates. Hotel rooms, dinners, lingerie, all funded from our joint account. The woman I'd supported for 13 years was using my money to finance her affair. At home, I maintained the facade perfectly. I brought Rachel flowers on Tuesday, took her to dinner Wednesday. When she said she had book club Thursday, I smiled and told her to have fun. Then I followed her. Not closely. I stayed 3 cars back, already knowing where she was going. The Hampton Inn off Route 7, room 237. Ethan's BMW was already in the parking lot. I sat in my truck for 2 hours, not out of masochism, but necessity. Michael needed proof of the meeting for the divorce filing. Photos of both cars, timestamps, the works. I thought I'd feel rage, but instead there was just cold clarity. This was evidence, nothing more. Jennifer Clark was harder to research. Their finances were clearly strained. Ethan made maybe $60,000 a year. Jennifer hadn't worked since their first child. They were underwater on their mortgage, according to public records. Their oldest daughter, Emma, had special needs, requiring therapy that probably wasn't fully covered by Ethan's insurance. This family was already struggling, and Ethan was spending money on hotel rooms and whatever gifts he was giving Rachel. Thursday night, I created a dossier for Jennifer Clark. Every screenshot, every photo, every timestamp. I added Ethan's work schedule that I'd figured out. The hotel receipts I'd found in Rachel's purse and photographed, even the credit card charges from the lunches they'd shared. No woman deserved to be blindsided like this, but Jennifer especially didn't deserve it. "You're quiet tonight," Rachel observed Friday morning, pouring coffee like a devoted wife. "Big project deadline," I replied, accepting the mug. "Might have to work through the weekend." "Oh no. We had plans with my parents Sunday," she reminded me. "You should still go. No reason for both of us to miss it," I suggested. She kissed my forehead and I didn't flinch. 3 more days. Monday morning, the process server would arrive. Monday afternoon, I'd meet with Jennifer Clark. By Monday night, both marriages would be over. "Actually," Rachel said, "if you're working, maybe I'll see if Sarah wants to do something Saturday. Girls' Day." Sarah, who'd been covering for her affair. "Sounds fun," I replied evenly. She smiled, probably thinking about whatever she and Ethan had planned. No idea that I'd already documented their Saturday reservation at the Marriott. "Paid for with a credit card she didn't know I'd been monitoring. Love you," she said, heading upstairs to get ready for her fake yoga class. "Yeah," I said to her, retreating back. "Me too." In construction, the most dangerous moment isn't when you're swinging the wrecking ball, it's the seconds before impact. When everything still looks normal but destruction is already inevitable. Monday, 6 a.m. I'd been awake since 4 sitting in the kitchen with black coffee and the final divorce papers Michael had prepared. Everything was in order. The financial separation was complete. The evidence was packaged and ready. 2 copies of everything, one for Rachel, one for Jennifer Clark. The process server was scheduled for 9 a.m. I'd specifically requested they come when Rachel would be having her morning coffee, still in her robe, unprepared. It was cruel, maybe, but I wanted her to feel what I'd felt. That moment when your normal life suddenly ends without warning. At 7:30, I called Jennifer Clark from my truck, parked outside a Starbucks. She answered on the 3rd ring, kids chattering in the background. "Jennifer Clark?" I asked. "Yes." "Who's this?" She replied uncertainly. "My name is David Miller. I'm sorry to bother you, but we need to talk about your husband and my wife," I said carefully. Silence. Then barely audible. "Oh, God. Can you meet me today?" "Without Ethan knowing?" I asked. He's at work," she stammered. "The kids are at school and daycare. I can meet you at noon." We agreed on a coffee shop in Norwalk, far from both our neighborhoods. I spent the morning at a job site trying to focus on mundane problems like supply delays and weather windows, but my phone kept buzzing with texts from Michael. Everything was filed, just waiting on the server. At 9:23 a.m., my phone rang. Rachel. I let it go to voicemail. She called 6 more times in rapid succession. Then the texts started. "What the f*** is this? David, answer your phone. This is insane. We need to talk. You can't just divorce me without talking to me. Where are you?" At 9:45, she tried a different approach. "Baby, please. Let me explain. It's not what you think. Baby." There was that word again, thrown at me now like a life preserver. At 10:40 a.m., the anger returned. "You hacked my phone, didn't you?" "That's illegal." "My lawyer says you can't use any of that in court. You have no right to lock me out of our accounts." I turned off my phone and focused on the meeting ahead. Jennifer Clark was already at the coffee shop when I arrived, sitting in a corner booth with her hands wrapped around an untouched latte. She looked exactly like her photos, pretty but exhausted, stress lines that told the story of 3 pregnancies and countless sleepless nights. She was wearing yoga pants and an old college sweatshirt, mom uniform. "Thank you for meeting me," I said, sitting across from her. "Just show me," she whispered. I slid the folder across the table. She opened it with shaking hands, and I watched her world collapse in real time. The texts, the photos, the hotel receipts. Her face cycled through denial, rage, devastation. At one point, she excused herself to the bathroom. I could hear her vomiting from my seat. When she returned, her eyes were red but dry. "How long?" she asked quietly. 4 months that I can prove. "Maybe longer," I answered. "The Tuesday morning shifts," she said with a bitter laugh. "He said they needed him to help with inventory. I was grateful he was getting overtime." "I'm sorry," I offered. "My daughter, Emma, she has autism. Therapy 3 times a week," she continued. "You know what he told me last month? That we couldn't afford to increase her sessions. That money was too tight." She gestured at the hotel receipts. $500 a month on hotel rooms. You'll want to protect yourself financially, I advised. Get a lawyer immediately. Move whatever money you can. Document everything. With what money? She asked, the laugh turning hysterical. We have $800 in savings. I haven't worked in 8 years. Who's going to hire me? How am I supposed to? She stopped herself, pressing palms against her eyes. The kids. How do I tell the kids? I didn't have an answer for that. We sat in silence for a moment before she asked, Your wife. What did she say? I haven't spoken to her, I replied. The divorce papers were delivered this morning. Just like that? 13 years and you just end it? She asked incredulously. It ended the moment she chose him, I stated. I'm just handling the paperwork. Jennifer gathered the folder, holding it like toxic waste. I have to pick up Sophia from daycare, she said, standing to leave. If you need any documentation for your lawyer, I have everything, I offered. She stopped, then turned back. Does it help? Having all this evidence? Does it make it hurt less? No, I admitted, but it makes it cleaner. When I got home that evening, Rachel's car was gone. There was a note on the kitchen counter, staying with Sarah. My lawyer will be in touch. I walked through the empty house, noting what she'd taken. Clothes, jewelry, photos of her family. She'd left our wedding album on the coffee table, open to a photo of us cutting the cake. We looked so young, so certain that we'd built something permanent. My phone had 43 missed calls, 20 from Rachel, the rest from her mother, her sister, mutual friends. I deleted them all without listening. Michael had texted that Rachel's lawyer had already reached out wanting to negotiate. There was nothing to negotiate. She'd get what the law required, nothing more. That night, I sat in my empty house with a beer and my laptop, working on a project bid due Tuesday. Business as usual. Around 10 p.m., my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Jennifer Clark. Ethan is gone. Packed a bag and left when I confronted him. Thank you for telling me the truth. I didn't reply. There was nothing to say. When you demolish a building, there's always debris to clean up. The question was whether I'd feel satisfaction or regret when the dust finally settled. 6 months later, I'm standing in my new apartment looking out at Hartford's skyline. It's smaller than the house. 1 bedroom, minimalist, everything I need and nothing I don't. The divorce was finalized last month. Rachel got 30% of the house sale proceeds, 2 years of minimal alimony, and nothing else. She fought hard for more, but the evidence was overwhelming. The judge, a woman in her 60s who'd probably seen 1,000 cheating spouses, had little sympathy for Rachel's tears. Ethan Clark's life imploded spectacularly. Jennifer divorced him with extreme prejudice, getting full custody and 60% of their assets. She also got child support that will cripple him financially for the next 16 years. He was fired from Whole Foods when the scandal became public. Turns out having an affair on company time violates their code of conduct. Last I heard, he was working at a Target distribution center, living in a studio apartment, seeing his kids every other weekend. Rachel moved back in with her parents initially, then found a job as a receptionist at a dental office. The woman who hadn't worked in over a decade was now answering phones for $12 an hour. She tried reaching out twice, once to apologize, once to ask if we could try again. I didn't respond to either message. The house sold quickly, even in a tough market. A young couple with twins, eager to start their life in a good school district. I met them at the closing, watched them hold hands as they signed papers, remembered when Rachel and I had done the same thing 14 years ago. I wanted to warn them, to say that foundations can crack when you're not looking, but I just smiled and wished them luck. Jennifer Clark sent me a Christmas card. Just a photo of her and the kids, no Ethan, with a simple thank you written inside. She's working now, part-time as a medical receptionist while the kids are in school. Her sister moved in to help with childcare. They're surviving. I've thrown myself into work, taking on bigger projects, more complex builds. There's something satisfying about creating structures that will outlast the people who build them. My colleagues think I'm having a midlife crisis, working 60-hour weeks, but they're wrong. This isn't a crisis, it's clarity. I tried dating once, a woman from my gym who didn't know my history. We had dinner, conversation flowed, she laughed at my construction metaphors. When she suggested we go back to her place, I almost said yes. But when she reached for her phone to check the time, I noticed she had a passcode. probably meant nothing. Everyone has passcodes now, but I made an excuse and left, knowing I wasn't ready. Trust, I've learned, is like concrete. Once it cracks, you can patch it, paint over it, pretend it's solid. But the structural integrity is compromised forever. You can build something new on a different foundation, but you can never make the old one whole again. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't checked Rachel's phone that Saturday morning. Would she have eventually confessed? Ended it with Ethan? Would we have grown old together with me never knowing about those 4 months when she belonged to someone else? Is ignorance better than truth? But that's like asking if a building with hidden damage is better than one that's been properly inspected. The damage exists either way. At least now I'm not living in a structure destined to collapse. Last week I drove past our old house. The new owners had painted it, added a swing set in the backyard, planted flowers where Rachel's herb garden used to be. It looked happy, lived in, loved. Nothing like the crime scene it had become in my memory. I don't regret what I did. Rachel and Ethan made their choices with full knowledge of the potential consequences. They gambled their marriages for hotel room afternoons and WhatsApp messages. They lost. That's not revenge, it's just mathematics. But I do regret what I've become. Not the man who methodically documented his wife's affair or orchestrated the legal dissolution of 2 marriages. That man was just doing what needed to be done. I regret the man who can't trust anymore, who sees potential betrayal in every passcode, every late-night text, every unexplained absence. The foundation for something new is ready to be poured. I have the plans, the materials, the skills. What I don't have is the faith that any structure built on human promises will hold. Maybe that's enough truth for now. Maybe faith comes later, after the rubble has been fully cleared and the ground has had time to settle. Or maybe some builders are only meant to construct one lasting thing in their lifetime, and I've already had mine. Either way, I keep building. It's what I know how to do. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.